So, we all know Marvel today, right? It's this absolute giant of the entertainment world, a multi-billion-dollar machine that just crushes the box office. But that's not the story we're telling today. Nope. We're going to talk about how the home of Spider-Man and Captain America came this close to total annihilation. I'm talking Bankruptcy, the whole shebang, and how they fought their way back from the absolute edge.
And you know what's crazy? Marvel's own real-life story is just like that. I mean, the company's journey, it's as dramatic as any comic book it ever printed. It goes from this scrappy underdog to a kind of greedy empire, then it becomes a smoldering ruin, and somehow climbs out to become the global powerhouse we know. It's wild.
Get this, in 1995, a single share of Marvel stock was worth $2. Just $2. And only 2 years before that, it was trading at over $35. That's a collapse. I mean, this right here, this is rock bottom. This is that moment the hero is well and truly on its knees. So how on earth did this happen? How did the company that gave us Spider-Man and the Avengers, these beloved, relatable heroes, how did it lose its way so completely? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Let's get into it.
All right, so here's the plan. We'll start with how Marvel became the king of comics, then look at the greed and gimmicks that almost destroyed it. And finally, we'll get into the insane gamble that created the cinematic universe and, let's be honest, changed everything.
Okay, so let's turn back the clock to the 1960s. For the longest time, Marvel was, just the other guy. The scrappy player always in the shadow of their big rival, DC Comics. But then a couple of creators named Stan Lee and Jack Kirby came along, and everything, and I mean everything, was about to change.
And this slide right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the Marvel revolution. See, on one hand, you had DC with these perfect, godlike heroes. Think Superman. But Marvel, they gave us Peter Parker, a teenager who was awkward, stressed about paying rent, and worried about his Aunt May. They weren't gods, they were people with powers, and crucially, with problems.
And this was just a brilliant move. It gave the characters this depth that was totally new for comics at the time. I mean, you'd see heroes arguing, getting mad at each other, sometimes even quitting the team. Fans really connected with that realism. It made them feel like real people.
But here's the real secret sauce, the true game changer. Marvel created a single, shared universe. Suddenly, Spider-Man could just swing through a Fantastic Four comic. The Thing and the Hulk could get into a massive brawl. This wove everything together into one giant story, and it got readers totally hooked. You had to buy all these different titles to keep up, building this massive, loyal community that just couldn't wait to see what happened next.
So by the 1980s, Marvel is on top of the world. They're number one. But you know how it goes. With big success comes big money. And a new kind of owner who didn't see heroes, they saw assets on a spreadsheet. And right there, that's where the whole thing starts to go wrong.
And this new mentality, it came straight from the top. In 1989, a financier named Ron Perriman bought Marvel. Now, Perriman was a corporate raider, which is basically a fancy way of saying he didn't care about the stories. He cared about the numbers on a balance sheet. And his goal was super simple. Squeeze every last drop of profit out of the company right now, and who cares about the future? So how do you do that? Well, the strategy was all about gimmicks. Marvel started pumping out comics with all these special covers. Shiny foil, holograms, glow in the dark, you name it. And of course, they jacked up the prices. They were tapping into that huge collectibles craze of the 90s, remember that? When people thought things like Beanie Babies were gonna make them rich, and for a little while, it actually worked. But what they were really doing was creating a massive, unstable bubble. And pop. Here's what happens when that bubble bursts. Collectors suddenly realized, hey, wait a minute, this collectible comic isn't very rare if they printed millions of them. The whole market just imploded. Look at these numbers. Sales tanked, Marvel's market share got sliced in half, and this is just devastating. 9 out of every 10 comic book shops in the country went out of business. But the damage wasn't just about money. The real heart of the company, its creative soul, was just being hollowed out. All the top writers and artists, they were getting fed up with the marketing department telling them what to write. So they left. They just walked out in this huge exodus. And this quote from a longtime editor, man, it just shows you the human cost of all that corporate greed. So it all comes to a head in 1996. After all these years of terrible management, after the market totally collapsed, Marvel posts a loss. And it's not a small loss. We're talking $460 million in the red. There was only one thing left to do. the company officially declared bankruptcy. But just when you think the story's over, a new character enters the scene, and his name is Peter Cuno. Now, this guy was known as a turnaround king. He'd literally saved 6 other companies from the brink. The only problem? He knew absolutely nothing about comic books. Cuneo's plan was actually pretty straightforward, but it was brilliant. Step 1, stop the financial bleeding. He sold off all the random companies that Perelman had bought. Step 2, revive the comics themselves. That meant bringing back the best creative talent and relaunching the big characters for a new generation. And step 3, this was the masterstroke, change the entire business model. Stop focusing on selling paper and start licensing out their most valuable asset, the characters themselves. Now, they had some early success with this. They licensed out X-Men and Spider-Man to other movie studios, and those did great. But the new leadership looked at the box office numbers and realized, wait, we're leaving billions of dollars on the table. And that led them to this completely radical, super risky idea. What if we made the movies ourselves? So to make that happen, they had to take out a loan. And we're not talking a small loan. We're talking over $500 million. Think about that. This was a company that was literally just in bankruptcy court. This was an all-or-nothing bet. One single flop, and it would all be over, for good. And the stakes, they were just unbelievable. The collateral they put up for that massive loan was the film rights to 10 of their characters. We're talking Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, the future Avengers. If the movies failed, the bank would literally own them. The entire future of Marvel was riding on this. And as if that wasn't risky enough, Marvel decided to just ignore the Hollywood rulebook. See, Hollywood believed you needed huge movie stars to sell a film, but Marvel's belief was different. The characters are the stars. This is why they took a massive gamble on someone like Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man. But their real secret weapon, they took that shared universe idea from the comics and decided to do it with movies. Every film would be one piece of a much, much bigger story. And, well, we all know what happened next. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was a historic success. It catapulted the company from bankruptcy to total global domination. But of course, that kind of success brings a whole new set of problems. Now the challenge is completely different. How do you keep the story fresh? And how do you connect with an audience that's now all over the world? I mean, just take a look at the comics market in Asia. Western comics like Marvel's, they're just a tiny sliver of the pie. The market is completely dominated by Japanese manga. It's not even close. So clearly, for Marvel to grow, they can't just keep doing the same old thing. So their new strategy is all about something they learned the hard way from their big collapse: authenticity. The company almost died when it stopped caring about its stories and its fans. So now, to succeed globally, they know they have to create diverse new heroes, like Ms. Marvel. They have to hire local writers and artists to tell stories that actually feel real to people around the world, and not just fall back on old stereotypes to make a quick buck. And that really brings us to a final perfect question, doesn't it? If you think about it, the core theme of almost every Marvel story, going all the way back to Spider-Man, is, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, after this unbelievable journey from near death to conquering the world, Marvel now has almost unbelievable power, culturally, financially. So the big question for their next chapter is, what are they going to do with it?